Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Oberhuber, and I'm your host. My guest today is Fletcher Cleaves. Hi.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Happy to have you, and I'd like to start with a question so that we can really go deep. How did you come to see the world the way you do today?
Absolutely. That's a great question. The way I see the world today is in a different light due to my traumatic life experience I had at such a young age. For those that do not know, I was involved in a car crash at the age of 18, right after high school. My freshman year of college, my first 2 weeks within class, I was on a football scholarship, and a lady was texting and driving and ran me and my roommate off the road. And so that traumatic incident caused me to become a quadriplegic, which therefore caused me to look at life a little differently. And throughout the years, I have learned to embrace adversity and overcome it. And since then, my outlook on life has been kind of a glasses half full type of outcome. And, there's always a better tomorrow.
I think that's a topic that's important for all of us because adversity is something that we encounter in various ways. And maybe not as physically adverse as you did, but there's other adversities that each one of us encounters. So with this topic of seeing the glasses half full, how did you go through the steps to recovery from that so that you could live a life that you felt is worthwhile and makes sense to you and so on?
Yeah, so look, my recovery process was strenuous in the beginning. I spent a year in intense therapy. After that year in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Shepherd Center, I went on to come back to home, University of Memphis, where I enrolled in college and tried to become a productive citizen and continue to live my education and get a degree. And so the road of recovery, it had me to think about the things I could do versus the things I couldn't do. As you mentioned, we all go through adversity, but it's this little saying that I typically like to remind myself is that it doesn't matter. We all go through adversity, what happens to you is not what defines you. It's how you respond to it. So as you mentioned, like also whether you're going through a divorce or you're going through financial hardship or you might have a death in the family or whatever the case may be, everybody goes through something. But how are you going to respond when adversity knocks on your front door? And that type of mentality allowed me to always see the brighter things. And every day that I wake up is an opportunity to make today better than yesterday. I try to take small goals. So my goals typically is just to have a good day. Wake up in the morning and turn the music on, get the blood flowing, and just tell yourself today we're gonna just have a good day. And then tomorrow you say the same thing, and then before you look, if you have enough good days in a row, it turns into a good week. Enough good weeks turns into a good month. And if you have consecutive good months back to back, then you'll have a good life.
Yeah, this is very impressive. How the topic of resilience, as it's called in education, right? So you've developed resilience towards these things and developed a way of seeing the world that allows you to choose to see what you can do rather than what you can't do. And that's a really huge step, I think, because we tend to get caught up in these things. I certainly have plenty of those topics where I feel, oh my God, what's going on here, right?
Absolutely. It's not to focus too much on the negative, but to always look at the positive. So as you said, that sometimes you can catch yourself thinking about negative situations longer than anticipated. So you're still thinking about something that happened yesterday. But if your mind is filled with negative thoughts, then you have no room for positive solutions. So if you're always thinking about the negative, then you have no room to can be concerned with the positive. So if you just switch your mentality a little bit to focus on the positive a lot, then there's no space for negativity.
So, how do you respond? There's a thought in the Course in Miracles that says we are all infinitely valuable in the mind of God. Now, how is it looks like you've developed an outlook that has a similar statement in it. So maybe you'd like to expand on that.
Yeah, I missed the beginning about the outlook of God. What was the quote?
Each and every sibling is infinitely valuable in the mind of God.
Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think that we all are God's creatures and we all have value. And as long as you are still alive, that means you still have purpose. God hasn't called you home yet for a reason. That means you haven't fulfilled your purpose yet. And when you find what your purpose is, or maybe not actually knowing what your purpose is, just appreciating the journey of finding your purpose, then you can continuously have a good day or have a good life, so to speak. So that's how I try to think about it, is that, God, even my car crash, I could have died. There's a lot of people who are involved in car crashes that survive, that don't survive. So I'm like, the fact that I survived, and not only did I survive, I survived with a spinal cord injury, but I still have my mind to develop thoughts in my personality, and I'm still the same person, so to speak. I'm just sitting down all the time. So because of all of that, I try to think that I'm still here for a reason. I have fulfilled my purpose, and maybe my purpose is to inspire others, travel the world, bring awareness to accessibility, or maybe my purpose might be something different that I haven't found out yet. But it's just that I'm enjoying the journey of finding my purpose.
And how did you shift your focus in education? You said you got your education done, or did you not? I don't know. What was that shift, and what did you change the major, or what you were the education that you took, or did you do the same, or what happened?
Yes. So with me being on a football scholarship, I was mainly focused on the physical part of college, so to speak. But once that was taken away from me, I was lucky enough, I made good grades in high school. My parents made sure of that. The state of Tennessee requires each high school student to have a 2.5 GPA to play high school sports. But my parents didn't want me to strive for the bare minimum. So they said, hey, we're going to require you to have a 3.0 if you want to play high school sports. So I strive to have that educational background, which helped me in the after my car crash, because even though my physical was taken away from me, I was able to go back to college and obtain a degree in computer science. At first, my degree was engineering, or it was really unknown because I was only a freshman, and all freshmen have to take those generic English history classes and all that stuff. So you don't really get your major till like your sophomore, junior year. And so I was just kind of taking all the classes every college student had to take. But then when I got to University of Memphis, I knew I liked math and I knew I liked problem solving. So I went on to get a degree in computer science.
So, when you say you like problem solving, does that mean that you have an outlook that is solution focused rather than problem focused?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I don't spend too much time worrying about the problem. I spend the majority of my time trying to develop a solution. So I'm very goal driven. I'm very task driven, so to speak. So like, tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me the problem, and then I'll come to you with a solution. You don't have to. Let's not worry. Go days trying to figure out what's going on or what the problem is. Let's identify what we think the problem is. Develop a solution, because the way I think about it, and this is sometimes good, sometimes bad. Just depends on how you look at it. So if we both have a problem, and you take 4 days to think about this problem, and on Friday, the fifth day, you come up with one solution. Versus me, I feel like if I work on the problem, think about it, try the first solution, that doesn't work. So I then try the second solution, that might not work. And then the third solution, I realized it worked. So I've developed three solutions in the time it took you to obtain the first one. It's just a different way of thinking. Like I said, in certain situations, it might be more beneficial to think longer about the problem or solution. But with math and problem solving, I try to come up with multiple solutions in a short amount of time.
So, how do you deal with people tell you that you can't do it or you're not good enough or you whatever, things like that?
Yeah, so I don't allow people to write my story. I'm the author of my own story. And when I feel like people tell you can't do something, that's them projecting their insecurities onto you. So it's like, hey, Fletcher, you can't, like, I know I can't do this, so you must can't do this. Or you can't do this, does it make sense? So I don't allow people to shape my own story. My football coach used to tell us that the person who says they can and the person who says they can't are both right. Which one will you be? Start achieving some type of goal starts within. It starts from you believing that you can do this, and then going out and trying or try to obtain whatever goal you set out for yourself. And just don't allow limitations to be put on your life. Like my book is discussed, or there's another saying I have that I say, don't tell me the sky is the limit when there's footprints on the moon. So people say the sky's the limit, the sky's the limit. I feel like that's you trying to put limitations on what I can achieve. So don't tell me the sky's the limit when I know there's footprints on the moon. So all in all, basically what that means is just the only limitations are the ones you have on yourself. The limitations you impose upstairs are the only limitations in life.
So, yeah, this way of seeing things as achievable, right? And accepting what you can't do, and you probably also get help where you need help, right? So you must have developed a very unique way of asking for help when you need it, but doing the things that you can do, meaning that you get a lot more done because you do what you can do and you don't reminisce about what you can't do. Like you were saying, you focus on the solution rather than on the problem. So you save time, if I understand correctly. And of course, in Miracles, it also says its purpose is to save time. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I have obtained this way of thinking just to focus on the solution versus the problem, and understand that I don't focus on the things I can't do. I focus on the things I can do, and whatever those things are, try to do them to the best of my ability. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if you never speak about the help you need, nobody will ever know. If I never tell you what's wrong, how can you know how to fix it? Or how do you know where to help me if I never discuss to you? So I have no problem with, hey, excuse me, do you mind holding that door for me? Or do you mind handing me that? Or, hey, I have a lot of friends and family. I know I don't travel by myself for safety purposes and due to my disability. So I'm like, hey, I want to go to Jamaica or France or Italy or Dubai. Anybody would like to go? And like, yeah, I would like to go. So if it's, but if versus if I want to go to these places, oh, I can't go by myself. Oh, well, I can't go there. And then boom, zip it, right? Versus if you would have just asked us to go with you, we would have went with you. So I'm like, hey, let me just ask. So just asking can create a lot of solutions that you never knew. It might solve a lot of problems that you didn't even know you had. Just simply just ask for help.
Yeah, and I sometimes have the impression that one of the things that holds you back for asking for help is because many people have the experience of asking for help and then being seen as incapable or as lazy or whatever else, right? So you probably have decided you ask for help in a different way where you don't see it that way or don't get that type of response, hopefully, at least.
Yeah, and I agree because when I first got injured, I went through a phase of asking for too much help, and because I was due to my disability, so I'm all my asking my parents to, hey, can I have some water? Can I have some chips? Can I do, versus trying to go get the water myself. And you never know what you can do until you do it. So I'm gonna try anything once, as long as it's safe. And there's been times where I wanted some chips on top of the refrigerator, and I kind of come with that problem solving mentality. Wayne got the broom, try to knock the chips down on the floor, and grab the bag off the floor, and now I got some chips. Or versus just, I would never know I was able to do that if I never would have tried. And hindering, there's a difference between helping and hindering. So my parents was like, hey, we will help you, but we're not going to hinder you. So they kind of also helped me form that mentality of like, just try. Now, if you try and you can't do it, then I will help you. But you have to try first.
Yeah, that must have changed your perspective a lot to decide you won't ask for every single thing, but you will determine what you really need help with. Now that's a hard one, right? Because we don't always know where we where our limits are, right?
You're absolutely correct. But the one thing about myself is, uh, because of my paralysis, I kind of know what my limitations are. So if I go to a restaurant and it's stairs to get in, there's no point in me trying that because I know I can't. I know what my limitations are. So hey, do you mind helping me up? Help me carry me up these stairs? Like I already know the ask. But I can see how it'd be a little harder for somebody who's able-bodied not to know where your limitations are because you have been told that you can do anything, which I do truly believe. And even myself, it's like even with the stairs analogy, it's not that I can't get in; I just have to get in a little differently. So I think that learning what your limitations may be, or learning how to problem solve over the current limitations you face, because our limitations are constantly changing. The limitations you have at 15 aren't the same you have at 25, and won't be the same you have at 35 or 65. So always learning how to problem solve and adapt to your limitations, so to speak, can change your perspective and the way of thinking altogether.
Yeah, and that of course is a topic that is important, like you said. And when you able-minded, able-bodied, and this and that, you think you can actually overcome anything, right? And there are things you just can't. If you've tried all your life, to get something right, and it just isn't working, right? So, so maybe that is a limitation, maybe not, right? But you don't know for sure because you think you can do it. And then you have to figure out other ways. Maybe you can do the same thing in a different way, right? Then it would work. But you've always believed you can do it in the way that you've been told it's possible, right? And so I think it's a big thing to decide there's other ways to get things done, or the way that you're being told isn't working for you. Maybe there is another way to do it.
You're absolutely correct. That's the way of thinking I try to live by. Like I said, it is, especially if it's something I have my mindset on. Like, hey, whenever I go to Italy, or whenever I go to Rome, I want to eat at this restaurant. I've seen it so much on TV. I really want to eat there. And then we get there, and it's like, oh, we don't have an elevator. So instead of me turning around and being defeated or not accomplishing the things I want to do, we're just going to figure out another way of how to get in. And that's where problem solving comes, whether it's one of my friends carrying me and somebody else taking my wheelchair, or somebody carrying me on my arms and two people carry me up, or whatever the situation may be. I'm not going to let this defeat me, so to speak, or I'm not going to let it stop me from accomplishing my goal.
Yeah. Well, another thing that is fascinating with your story is that you really set goals and are very determined to reach them. And not everyone has reached that space where they say, okay, I have clear goals that I can determine to reach, and I will do anything to get there, right?
And that's when the conversation I came earlier is about finding your purpose. When you know your purpose or you know something that you love to do or want to do, there's nothing that can stop you from doing that. And though you might have to take a break or you might have to move, I wouldn't say take a break, you have to move a little slower. To say, your goal is to buy a beach house and you are faced with financial hardship. You may lose your job within 2 years. It's not that you can't still obtain that beach house. It's just you have to move a little slower, change a little tactics, or do something a little differently. But the goal is still the goal. Now, how we get to the goal may change throughout the years.
So yeah, one of the so I think that's beautiful that you spoke about doing something that you love, right? Because I think that's one of the things that gives you power, right? But sometimes it appears, even though you are determined to get somewhere, that to get there you have to do things that you don't like, or that you feel like you procrastinate over, or whatever, right? Now, the question is, can you shift the perspective so that you can do it happily, or are you going to or is it something that you will get stuck on, right? And how do you shift that, or is there another way, or does one have to always go through all these adversities that you don't want to deal with to get to your goals?
Yeah, that's part of being an adult is doing things. There's going to be days you're going to not want to get out of bed. There's going to be days you just want to be lazy. But you have to do the things you don't want to do so you can you have to do the things you don't like to do so you do the things you want to do in the future. So it's like, hey, of course I don't want to get up and go to work today. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. But I also know that I want to go to the casino on Saturday, or I want to go on vacation next week. So I'm going to do these things now so I can do the things I want to do in the future. And adversity is going to come as part of life. My grandmother always told me that if you haven't been through any adversity, that means you haven't lived long enough. So as you get older and your adversities may change, you're just going to go through something. As a teenager, your adversity may be your bike broke or your girlfriend broke up with you. But then as an adult, your adversities change. My car, I need a new tire. I need an oil change, or whatever the case may be. And it's just understanding to evolve and adapt to your adversities and not let them overcome your mental state and get you in a place where you want to give up.
And why does that, for many people, it takes a long time to overcome these states of not wanting to give up, right? Now, you must have had to face that very intensely at some point in your life, especially probably after the physical experience of a car accident, but possibly before that as well. How did you change that?
Yeah, I'm human just like everyone else. So that there were definitely days where I wanted to give up or I didn't want to go to therapy. But I also knew that during this time of my life that my current state is not where I wanted to be in life. I don't want to just lay in the bed and collect a disability check and just watch TV all day. I don't want to just rely on my parents for transportation. I don't want to live with my parents. I want to move out. I want to get a car. I want to travel the world. I want to get a girlfriend. I want to have a family. I want to get kids. I want to, do all these things that I've always wanted to do. I just had to do them differently now. So I always knew that this is not where I wanted to be in my life at such a young age. So I use that as motivation to continuously strive and not give up. And also watching, so I have a great support system. So watching my family and my friends sacrifice so much to make sure that I was able to do certain things made me not want to give up for them. For instance, my parents would wake up at 5 in the morning to help me get dressed for the 8 a.m. class and pick me up on their lunch break and then take me to get something to eat and then bring me home and go back to lunch. Or my mother breaking my wheelchair down and putting it in the car and picking me up and doing all these things and they're getting older, and I'm watching their bodies break down. My mother complaining about back problems, or my dad complaining about his knee, and I'm like, Fletcher, you're literally making your parents age faster. So use it as motivation to move out, start driving, so they can do less to live longer.
Oh, that's a big one. to say, so you experienced this feeling that you were a burden on people, and too much of a burden because you were capable of doing more, right? You could learn to take over more. You can't, of course, unburden people from what you can't change, right? Where you really do need help, right? So the question was, how did you discover where you could lessen that burden, and where it was sensible to keep asking for that help, or maybe get it from somewhere else?
Yes. So my parents, they never, I used to say, I don't want to be a burden. They used to say to me, Fletcher, you're our child. That's what parents are supposed to do for children. That's what mothers are supposed to do. That's what fathers are supposed to do. But knowingly, I did feel like a little burden. So just trying to continuously, just do more and be more independent so they can do less. So for instance, if my dad finished cutting the grass and he's sitting on the couch with a glass of water, watching the game, just want to relax, and then me coming in was like, hey, Dad, can I have some chips? And he's like, ugh. So instead of like being that burden, I would just in my head say, hey, the dad just got in the house, just finished cutting the grass. He just wants to relax. You can go get those chips yourself. Fletcher, stop being lazy. It's like, all right, you're right. Let's go get the chips out. Like, I got it. And then because my parents always say, like, you want to move out, who's going to do this stuff when we're not around? And I'm like, you're right. I do want to move out because nobody, no 18, 25, 30-year-old wants to live with their parents forever. So it's like, all right, if I want to move out, I need to learn how to live as if no one was here.
Yeah, so you had a motivation to get more capable of taking care of things yourself. Yeah. So what role does this ideas like heaven is within you or things like that play in your that also is something that A Course in Miracles speaks about, but other traditions also have similar sayings. Does that play a role in your outlook?
That miracles are what? Say it again.
Heaven is within you.
Yes, absolutely. That plays a major role, I would definitely say, because the sense of saying heaven within you is saying, to me, is like saying joy comes from within. So I don't necessarily rely on happiness because happiness is associated with a happening. So you get a promotion, you're happy. You hit the lottery, you're happy. So it's associated with it happening. But joy is something that can't be taken or given. It just comes from within. So heaven and that joy and that sense of always being having a fulfilled life and always having a purpose or always enjoying the journey to find your purpose comes from within. So yes, I think that heaven does come from within, or heaven/joy comes from within.
Beautiful. Is there another topic that you like to talk about other than motivation and overcoming adversity that we should talk about here?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're open to talk about anything you would like. I love being a motivational speaker. I love traveling the world. I also like bringing awareness to accessibility issues in the travel community as far as hotels and excursions and transportation and things of that nature. But to everyone that may watch this video or that is listening, I always tell people that life, as I mentioned, adversity happens to everybody. It's not what happens to you that defines you. It's how you respond to it. So if you choose to respond in a positive manner, if you choose to change your outlook or your mindset, mindset starts so many different opportunities and it can shift to so many different experiences. So if you have the correct mindset, you can accomplish so much more.
So there's another thought that is also very interesting that we might want to look at is let's put it let's quote it. I am not a body, I am free. I am just as God created me, is a thought from A Course in Miracles. And you have a unique perspective on that, probably from your experience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why in the beginning of the conversation I mentioned that, you know, we have a saying in sports that father time is undefeated. What that means is at some point in your life, your body will fail you, whether it's arthritis in your knee or you need a hip replacement, but at some point, your body will fail you. But I chose not to be determined by my physical, but be judged by my mental and my character. So even though my body and my physical capabilities were taken away from me at such a young age, I still chose to be the same person, act the same way, be a person of God and of faith, and also be a person of motivation. And I, like I mentioned, chose to go back to college and obtain my degree. And just my friends and family say the same thing. It's like Fletcher is the same exact person. I'm a class clown. I'm a jokester. I like to have fun. I love to eat the same foods. He's like, he's just sitting down all the time.
Yeah, so this idea that one is free, and that has nothing to do with the current abilities, right? Whether physical or mental or whatever, because it's not like all of us have the genius mind where we have all these solutions and all these ways of dealing with things and we're really good at it, right? Some of us have to struggle with that. Some of us have an easier time. Some, I don't know, there's very different parts of that story, right? So how do you say yes to what you are capable of at that point in your life or whenever, right? Because you don't all, we don't all have the same capabilities during this experience that we're having here.
Yes, and that goes back to what we said earlier. It's not focusing on the things you can't do, but focusing on the things you can do. So if you're currently struggling with a certain aspect in your life and knowing the problem and trying to find that solution. So, or even asking for help. So if you know that you're struggling to save money, if you know that money's not your strong suit, maybe get it. That's when you ask for help. Get a financial advisor, or asking your spouse to help manage the house funds, or asking a friend to, can you help me manage certain financial situations? But versus you continuously knowing that you can't save money and continuously doing irresponsible financial decisions. So that's the thing that I look at every problem is understanding the things I do well and the things I don't do well, not dwelling on those things and asking help for and when I need areas. And I think that's any characteristic of a great leader. It's like, hey, my job is to bring out the best in other people, but also knowing where I need assistance. So if I were to, do something like I'm a great speaker, I'm a great motivator. I'm great at speaking in front of large crowds, but I lack a lot of creativity in the business aspect, so to speak. So I get a business consultant who was like, hey, instead of you selling books like this, you should sell books like that. I'm like, oh, good idea. Thank you so much.
Well, I think this is a good spot to ask if anyone has a question or a comment that you'd like to share, because Fletcher is here and can respond to them. Well, I guess it's not yet the case. So The depth of what you can draw from within you is really fascinating, right?
Yeah,
Would you like to share about that? Yeah.
about drawing stuff from within. Yeah, I think that everything you need to be great, you already have. And by what that means is, of course, you're going to need outside influences, but it starts from within. It starts from within you to number one, believe you can do it. And number two, have the courage to try to do it. So uh, people say, Fletcher, you're such a strong person. You know, you came over so much adversity. You never know how strong you have to be until you have to be. When your back's against the wall, that's when you really find out. You really find out what you're capable of, and it's not waiting till that major adversity comes to realize what you can or cannot do. It's tapping it within yourself to pull that out when things are going well, when things are going great. Is that's what it's easy to it's easy to give up when things are hard, but can you continuously strive when things are going great, when things are good? You know, so that's what I try to think is that I've already have everything that I need to be great and fulfill my purpose that God kept me on this earth for a reason. It's finding, like I said, what that purpose is or enjoying the journey to find that purpose.
What would you like to say to the thought that we are all walking each other home?
We are all walking each other home. I've never heard that. What does that mean?
Well, that's a thought from Course in Miracles, because home is where is the heaven, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and our purpose here is to walk each other home, right? Because we're, and according to A Course in Miracles, you could call what we're experiencing here a dream,
Mm-hmm.
because it's made up from, we made it up. And heaven is actually reality as it is, without any false interpretations or anything. It's different. It's something we can't describe from where we are at now. We just know that it's there, right? So what do you think about this walking each other home?
That's a great concept. I've never heard that. I've never got an opportunity to think about it. But I mean, just as a quick thought, or just hearing about this now, I think it's a great outlook. It's a great quote. I think, and I agree. Like we're here to help each other attain the ultimate goal, and that's everlasting life in Him.
Yeah, it says to remember who we are, right? To remember our source, right? Where we come from. Because we were created, and to remember that and to rejoin. It's like the story of the prodigal son, right? Where we've left to have an experience that we think we're separate from our father, right? And now, and it's a journey that we're taking that doesn't really have a distance, but it's going on right in our mind. And we need to remember that we can return home, right? And we need to remind each other that that's true. We are welcome there, right? Even though we think we did something wrong, right? By leaving or whatever else, right? The things that we think we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that was a great saying, a great outlook on it as well.
Um, I think another thing that's really fascinating is that you believe that what you have to share is helpful. And then, of course, in Miracles, it speaks about, I'm here to be truly helpful. And I think that's a very important purpose as well, to be truly helpful.
I agree. And my fraternity that I'm in, we have a motto entitled "Lift as you climb." So as you obtain different heights in life, it's your responsibility to lift others as you climb to higher peaks, so to speak. Because we all know that I believe that nobody's success got there by themselves. Everybody had help from somebody. It's your responsibility of a person of success is to help someone else achieve success, and having that outlook is just has helped me find different positive people in my life and find different positive things in my life. You know, people say it's good things seem to just happen to Fletcher. I said, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I just know that I try to put out positive and positive vibes and positive. I try to help people, and the universe will unfold on itself. It will work itself out, so to speak. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. And especially my situation, I could not be where I am today without my support system. You know, like as I mentioned, my parents, my family, my friends, all the videos on Instagram and me on Sports Center and CBS and all these things that people think is just me. What you don't see is I have my brother behind the camera, my parents are there, or my caregiver is a team of people that are here just to help me obtain a certain goal or do a certain thing.
Same here. I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at without the support system. Yeah, it wouldn't be possible. None of the goals that I have achieved would be possible. And yeah, so in a way, in A Course in Miracles, it speaks of all these helpers. If you knew who was at your side, you wouldn't be afraid of anything. Now, that's speaking of helpers from within as well, right? But also, I think it also means the people around us, because we don't realize how much help we are getting. We don't realize what a power there is in that support system, whether from within or what we perceive as if it were outside of us. It's a huge, huge deal.
Exactly. If you knew, with God by your side, with God with you, who could be against you. And if you have the correct support system, as I said, I always have said that my support system doesn't allow me to have a disability. And basically, what that means is everything I've ever wanted to do, there's like as long as it's safe, we're gonna make sure Fletcher is able to have a fulfilled life. Like I recently went skydiving, and I've been scuba diving with whale sharks, and I've ridden the world's fastest roller coaster, and all these things that a lot of people won't get to experience in their life. I've gotten to experience it, even being in a wheelchair, simply because a team of people not decided. Number one, I asked, and number two, having the courage to do these things in a wheelchair or not. They was like, hey man, if you got the courage to do it, we'll help you.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it demands a lot of courage to say, I'm going to do it, right? And I'm going to find a way. And it's for everyone, right? Because we have so many goals that we've let fall, right? or dreams that we give up because we think it's just too much, right? We can't do it, or something, we think something will hinder it or stop it or whatever. I think it's a good point about the support system, that that the support system probably turns up when you really choose to do something.
Yes, I think sometimes people just give up too easily because they don't put in enough work. So when you put time and invest energy and hard work into something, it makes it hard to give up because you've already done so much, so to speak. And that's why I feel the same way about a lot of things. It's like I refuse to give up because I've worked too hard to get to where I am today.
So when moments of feeling like you need to give up, right, come up, right, if they do, what do you do? Do you say help, and then or do you say, oh, it just doesn't make sense. I'm gonna say this isn't the way I want to go. Or what is the process that you go through to decide? Okay, I'm not giving up.
I think it comes down to how truly invested am I into the task at hand. I typically am invested. If I get to the point where I'm thinking about giving up, that means I'm extremely invested. Because if I wasn't invested, I wouldn't even got to that point of I really want to give up. If that makes sense. Like, hey Fletcher, you want to sell Girl Scout cookies? Nope. Like I don't even have to give up on that because I don't want to do it. So something like that. But if it's something that you truly want or are truly invested in, giving up won't be an option because you invested so much time, effort, and energy into it. So, but days I do think about giving up. I don't necessarily think about quitting. I think about taking a break and maybe a hiatus or something to reevaluate the problem and the solution. So, just take a step back, take a day or two, a week or whatever time, and just, all right, is this something you truly want to do? And if the answer is yes, then go back at it. The answer is no, formulate why is it not, or how is it, can you obtain this same goal in a different manner? So, the goal is to visit Austria. I may not be able to do that right now. It might not be the perfect time, but I'm not going to give up on the goal.
Yeah. So instead of letting that take too much hold of you, you decide to give it a strong look at, right? And I don't know if you feel that way, but many people in A Course in Miracles speak of looking at it with the Holy Spirit, looking at the darkness or whatever it is with Holy Spirit to really get clarity about what's deeper, the deeper aspects of it, right? So that you can actually get a new answer.
Exactly. Prayer solves a lot. Prayer solves a lot, and just pray that what you're trying to obtain might not be something that God wants you to focus on. So, like for instance, when I was playing football, the goal was to make it to the NFL, and God didn't want me to focus on that. He wanted me to focus on something different. So He put certain adversity and situations in front of me that switched my vision.
Yeah. So some of the adversity that we experience is obviously self-made, right? Like you were speaking about self-fulfilling prophecy, that type of idea, right? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. But there's also the aspects of, like you were saying, there might be a higher, deeper meaning to it and a reason that things are not working the way you think they should, right? But also there's the other side of, like you said, maybe it's just hard work and determination that will get you through it, right? So you have to determine what is the actual state of affairs, right? Like in your case, okay, it was clear you can't do the football playing anymore, right? That was something that just wasn't working anymore.
Yes, I agree. It's about, finding that purpose, so to speak, and enjoying the journey, as I continue to say. But having the self fulfillment or the self prophecy, as you mentioned, the person who says they can and the person who says they can are both right. No matter what you do in life, it starts with you believing you can, whether it's becoming a teacher or becoming a whatever, is an astronaut or whatever. It starts with you believing you can do it. Because if you don't even believe you can do it, why should anyone else believe you can do it? But there are certain people around, like even myself. I've had, and that comes back to support system. I've had people around me that believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. That what, man, you're right. Thank you for the words of encouragement. So it switched my perspective and my focus that I have to start believing myself because there's people out there that believe in me at times where I didn't even believe I could do it. So I just try to always stay positive and think positive. and put out positive vibes, and therefore positive stuff comes my way. That's how I feel.
So that's very powerful to be able to do that, right? I've come to places where I'm actually feeling like I'm not projecting a positive vibe out, right? And so that's also something is when you're not projecting a positive vibe out all the time, doesn't always determine whether you will succeed at all or not. But the question, like you were saying, one of the things, deeper things is what is your deeper motivation? How motivated are you? Right? And when will you let go of what you think is keeping you back, right? Because sometimes the things that are keeping you back are just thoughts in your mind, or actually always, right? It's always something in your mind that's holding you back. And so the question of changing your mind about, like A Course in Miracles says, you can't change the world, but you can change your mind about the world.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, so, just to hit off what you said, just because you have positive thoughts doesn't mean positive things will come your way. You still have to work on certain aspects of your life. So, for instance, I think the quote is like prayer without work is, I can't think exactly what it says, but basically it's like you can't pray you hit the lottery if you don't ever play. Like you have to work, or you can't pray that you make it to the NFL if you don't work out, if you don't put in work. So the same concept that happens in life is said that you can't put out positive vibes and then just expect positive things will happen. You still have to do the work.
Yeah. So part of it is the work, the inner work, right? And the other part is the activities within what A Course in Miracles calls the dream, right? You do have activities that come from those decisions that you make within you. And yeah, you have to come to terms with what you were speaking about, how there can be a lot of work involved in getting your goals or getting there.
Will most definitely be a lot of work obtaining your goals. Nothing worth having will be easy. It's going to be days you want to give up. It's going to be days you don't feel like it. But everything you've ever wanted in life is on the other side of I don't feel like it. Once you get over that hump of I don't feel like it, because greatness is achieved by doing things you don't feel like.
You're basically saying you don't feel like it, but you want to get the result, right?
Exactly. Like as a kid in high school, I don't feel like, or college, I don't feel like studying. Of course I don't, but I want to pass this test.
So what the other side of it was choosing to do things that you love, right? And then the other side you were speaking of is that even if you choose what you want, what you love to do, there's always aspects that are ones in which you feel challenged.
Correct. Yeah. Choose something you enjoy doing, because everybody heard this. If you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So I feel like when like purpose and something you love to do, like align and meet, and then I feel like you found the key to life, so to speak. Um, and but you have to also put in the work, as you said. It's like you find what you love to do, and then make a career out of that. Do that. But there's gonna be days that you don't feel like it. Well, even though you may love to do it, it's gonna be days you don't want to do it. It's gonna be hours where you want to go to sleep, or you just want to relax or be lazy today. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. It's just the objective is to never quit.
And often there's tight time schedules for things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even break when you want to.
Absolutely. Got to get it done. That's what I don't feel like it comes in. I really want to rest, but I know this is due at midnight. So I got to get it done.
We're getting towards the end because you said you need to leave earlier.
Yeah, it's 1 minute.
So we need to wrap up things. So is there anything you would like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, to everybody out there listening, you can find me at www.fletchercleaves.com. My videos, my AT&T commercial, my TED Talk, blog post, or if you want to book me for a speaking engagement, you can reach me there at www.fletchercleaves.com.
Okay. So that was one of the questions I would have asked afterwards, how one can reach you, but that's answered.
Gotcha.
So what would you say is the most important message that you would like to pass on to people?
Don't allow anyone to tell you the sky is the limit when there's footprints on the moon. There are no limitations to what you can achieve. There are no limitations to what you can accomplish. The only limitations are the ones you impose on yourself. And lastly, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? If you knew failure was not an option, how big would you dream? What would you accomplish? And whatever that is, live life of doing that.
Okay, now, thank you so much for joining me on this
Absolutely.
podcast and joining in walking each other home. As I think I explained that that's one of our purposes here in the world, or the main purpose in the dream. Yeah, to walk each other home. And thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for our support. How did you call it? Support community
Support
or
system.
support system. Thank you to all of our support systems. Please continue supporting us, and may we have a wonderful journey together, all of us. Please remember to subscribe, to share about the podcast if you like it, and let people know. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out to me, because this is a podcast that is open and welcoming. If you have a message of love to share, so please feel free to contact me. Just like Fletcher and I got together, there's many others who are joining in this journey, and that's how rich the podcast is very rich because of that. So I'm very thankful to you all. So blessings, and till next time.
All right, have a good one. Thank you.